All right, if you're a man looking for a woman, I'm a Christian. So if you're a Christian man, young man, probably looking for a woman, let me give you some tips, some pros and cons, what to watch out for. I was doing some looking around on the internet and I came across this website here 10 bad habits Christian women need to break, judging others whose convictions differ from our own, which is nothing to it. Gossiping by sharing a prayer request, offering unsolicited counseling. All women do that. Making up or twisting scripture. Bingo, right on the money. Every Christian woman that you find, they don't know the Bible. The vast majority of Christian women who claim to be Christian, I should say, they don't know the Bible. They know a few verses here and there, and they use those verses to beat the man over the head and make him submit to her will. Instead of the woman submitting to the husband, she will use the Bible to make you submit to her. I've seen it all the time. I've been in many different churches, many different states, many different denominations, and I can tell you that's exactly what women do when they claim to be a Christian. 99% of the men you see in church are there because their girlfriend or their wife dragged them into the church. And on a side note, that makes me think of a lot of people who I met, women who say they didn't want to go to a particular church because they didn't like the way it was decorated. They didn't want to go to a church because the preacher was ugly or she didn't like the way he looked. I know another one who said she didn't want to go to a particular church because of the women there were too pretty. I've heard women say they didn't want to go to a church because they weren't able to sing in the choir because the choir was already full. They didn't have any empty spots for another person. And I'm telling you, these women will drag their husbands around to 20, 30 different churches, hours away. I personally know women who will drive an hour and a half, 60 to 100 miles away to go to a church instead of going to a church that's right there in their neighborhood. Same denomination, it's just, oh, that church is too small. Oh, that church is too big. Or I didn't like the decorations in that church. Or I didn't like the preacher. I couldn't get into the choir. And these women are too pretty. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. And so they drag their boyfriends, drag their husbands all over the country looking for just the right church. And that's not how it's supposed to be. You don't base a church judged on how nice it's decorated or if it has flowers on the inside and the outside and so on. It's ridiculous. And I know people like that. I've met people like that. Absolutely ridiculous. And a big common problem with women is that they say they've been Christian for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years. They go to church every weekend and they don't know the Bible. They memorize a few verses from the Bible. Some memorize a few, some memorize 5 or 10 verses, and they use those verses. And I've seen it done. I've seen it done in person. They use these particular verses when they're talking to their friends. They use some verses when they're talking to other family members. And it's all a big pony show. It's fake. It's fake. They memorize these verses when they're trying to impress people. And then they use other verses when they're trying to force their husband to submit. And the biggest problem with Christian women that I can't stand more than anything is that Christian women, every Christian woman I've ever met, and every Christian woman I know of, will say, well, Jesus died on the cross to set us women free so we can dress in thong bikinis and so we can have our breasts hang out and so we can do and say what we want to say. And they won't tell you that up front when you first meet them. Oh no, they'll play the good little church lady, they'll play the good little girl, and they'll drag you to church, and they'll stand up and sing and all this and other nonsense. But as you get to know them and their true personality begins to emerge, you'll start to hear things like, well, don't say that, that's not godly, or don't do this, that's not biblical. And you'll start to notice that they'll chip away at you slowly but surely, saying that excuse me, I was about to sneeze. But anyways, it's a never-ending nonsense with Christian women. And the only difference between Christian women and atheist women is that atheist women are upfront. They curse, they get tattoos, they dress like hookers, whatever. They really don't have any moral standings to stand on. I mean, they have it in their head what should be right and what should be wrong according to the culture they live in. But at least with Christian women, they have the Bible, or you would think they would have the Bible as a moral guideline. But you would be surprised. It would blow your mind. I've been around Christian women who they're actually worse than atheist women, to be honest with you. In a lot of ways, they're worse because they're pretending to be Christian, godly Christian women. And they use the Bible as a weapon. Man, I tell you. Oh, and I came across Christian feminists. How to become a Christian feminist. Christian feminist is not an oxymoron. Yes, it is. There is no way that you can biblically be a Christian feminist. It's impossible. Everything, your integrity, your values, your morals, everything about you is based on the Bible. And no, Jesus was not a feminist. Far from it. Anyone who's read the Bible would know Jesus is not a feminist. Types of feminism. And I found these just out of curiosity. I didn't even know this was a thing until I read this. This one right here. Jesus was not a feminist, and maybe you shouldn't be either. I agree, he wasn't. And then, of course, you have some say that Jesus is a feminist. Absolutely not. There's no way in hell, and I'm going to be blunt with you, there is no way on God's green earth or in the pits of hell, that you can be a feminist and be a Christian. Jesus never shamed women. Jesus never had to. Not like that, not the way she's talking about it anyways. All right, as I was saying, there's no way that you can be a Christian feminist. Why do you think people make these memes? I am a Christian feminist, and that is not an oxymoron. Yes, it is an oxymoron. You cannot be a Christian feminist. Read your Bible. Oh my goodness. Just like I said before, the vast majority of women who claim to be Christian are not Christian. They don't know the Bible. They don't understand it. They don't read it. They don't study it. They pick and choose the verses that they like, and that's it. The vast majority of women will go on YouTube, watch like in my other video, the vast majority of the people who watch those prophecy videos are women, fake Christians. Look at the analytics. And women need to be entertained nonstop, 24/7, or at least the dumb ones do. The fake Christian women. Look at the analytics for those prophecy videos. They really reach out to Christian women and boys pretending to be men, soy boys, cupcakes I call them, or puff cakes, whatever you want to call it. Another group of people who don't know the Bible, don't know anything about the Bible, and they'll go on there and watch prophecy videos. But back to the topic of women. Yes, this is an oxymoron. That's why people have to make these memes saying it's not an oxymoron, because people say it's an oxymoron because they know the Bible and they know it's an oxymoron. Oh my goodness. You cannot be a feminist Christian. It's impossible. Oil and water do not mix. Completely different. You might as well be like this, what's her name? Ashley Judd. This is what a feminist looks like. This is what a retard looks like. I agree. Full retard. This is what a feminist looks like. What? A woman raging, a woman purporting to be violent, screaming, being hysterical. Does that oh my goodness, I just noticed she's wearing a Christian cross. Ashley Judd is not a Christian. There's no way she's a Christian. She's another fake and a fraud. Another one who screams, oh, I was raped 30, 40 years ago. Really? So you waited 30 or 40 years, 20 years, 10 years, whatever it was, to finally say something after you finally made a couple $100 million making movies, and now that you're not needed in the movie industry anymore, now you want to complain about it so you can get a few extra dollars. Typical woman. Typical feminist woman. A feminist is just a retard with anger issues. I'm feeling creative. It's true. It's true. Women in Christianity, Christian women it's an anomaly. It's, I'm not saying women can't be Christian. I'm not a misogynist. Don't get me wrong. Women are Christian. Women can be Christian. But the vast majority of them, just like men, are not Christian. Just like men who claim to be Christian, the vast majority of them are not Christian. And the only difference is that a man will never use the Bible against you, whereas a woman will always, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% of the time, will always try to use the Bible against you, your boyfriend, her father, her husband, whoever. They use it as a lethal weapon, a weapon of mass destruction. So if you are a young man, what is this? Before feminism versus after feminism. Please, Lord, please help Katy Perry. She needs it. Trump 2016, liberalism, mental disorder, pot is politically incorrect. I agree. Those people are retards. My microphone keeps sliding. Let me tighten it up a little bit. I'm trying to hold it. There we go. Finally. The horror stories I could tell you about the women in the church. Absolutely terrible horror stories. Dragging their men, the way they dress. They might as well be atheists. With their breasts hanging out, their butt cheeks hanging out. The men go to church just because the women drag their boyfriends and their husbands to church. Men go to church to have fellowship, to actually be a part of the church. Women, for the most part, want to have that emotional feeling. They want to jump up and down and clap and sing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's your sole purpose and you think doing that is making you a Christian woman, well, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Some pretty funny memes in here. That's the thing about memes. That's why the leftists don't like memes. Is a feminist doesn't make songs against men. I don't care. Whatever that means. That's why the leftist retards, the cowards, the leftists are nothing but cowards, and they're really mentally retarded. I mean, think about it. Feminists in 2017 were walking through the streets dressed up as vaginas. Matter of fact, I see one right here. Dressed up as vaginas, walking through the streets. Women especially Christian women. I don't think. There we go. I must have spelled it wrong. I got my feelings hurt on Facebook, so don't try to tell me that women in the Middle East have it worse. This isn't the video I wanted to make. I had a whole bunch of stuff planned out that I was going to say, but I got off track. I had a couple of phone calls, and so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I got other things I need to do, but I just want to leave off with this, that if you are a man, an atheist man, or a Christian man, thinking that you're going to find a godly Christian woman, I'm going to warn you now, chances are you're not going to be able to do it. Very few. I mean, the only difference is you might meet a woman who claims to be Christian. Okay, say they don't curse like atheist women, so they act slightly different. But then they have the whole emotional baggage of, oh, well, Jesus died on the cross. He was sacrificed on the cross for me. He was crucified on the cross for me. He's my husband. He's my boyfriend. He's my father. He's this and that. And I've heard women say that. Jesus is my husband. Jesus is my boyfriend. Jesus is my father. He's coming to get me. I'm his anointed one. And that's another thing before I sign off about so-called Christian women. It's funny that if you're with a Christian woman, whether you're the boyfriend or the husband, she'll see another man praising Jesus in the church, or the preacher on the stage is preaching, oh, he's anointed. Oh, that man over there, he's anointed because he can sing really good. Or that man over there is really anointed because he gave he spoke the verses in some particular way that impressed her. Oh, that man over there is anointed, or she's anointed. Everybody's anointed. God's chosen and anointed, except for the husband or the boyfriend. Always. I'm telling you, you hook up with a woman, atheist or Christian, you're always going to take a back seat to everybody else. Always. When you become the boyfriend and the husband, you get pushed to the side. You're there to pay the bills. You're there to keep her entertained, but but you're not the anointed one. Always keep that in mind. You're never going to be the anointed one in her mind, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't even know what the definition of anointed is. But you'll see a lot of Christian women, hear a lot of Christian women say, I can't think of a preacher. It will say John Hagee. Oh, John Hagee, he's preaching. I like his preaching. He's a good preaching. He's a good preacher. He's God's anointed. He's God's chosen. And a matter of fact, that reminds me, I've seen comments on YouTube referring to as Donald Trump's God's anointed. He's God's chosen man. Or they'll say it about the person who made a video talking about prophecy. Oh, thank goodness for this person's God anointed this person to make this prophecy video about blood moons and CERN super collider and China war and Mideast war and everybody's war and wormwood and poison, whatever. Just nonsense. And you're going to realize no matter how good you are, no matter how good you preach or all the good things that you do, as a man, as a boyfriend or husband, you're never going to be anointed, supposedly anointed or chosen. Whatever. Why women have this really messed up way of thinking. They don't know what anointed means. They don't know what chosen means. But whatever. I know this video's gotten kind of long, but I wanted, and this isn't the video I wanted to make. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video to this one. Hopefully, all through all my meandering and just rambling, hopefully it helps somebody. Maybe you had a good laugh or something. Who knows?